Rachel Wolfson's up next, and Rachel, it's good to see you.
Hi, John.
Hey.
Good to see you again.
I guess it's our show right now. So Rachel and John Wolpert and Rachel Wolfson, it's good to see you, both of you. I guess I'm introducing us. Rachel, would you like to say a few words about yourself? I'll say before that Rachel's been one of the great journalists in this space. For those of us in the baseline protocol, we've had conversations with saying, who do we want to talk to when we have news, and who's going to get it right? And Rachel always gets it right. Doesn't embellish, doesn't go hypey. We really appreciate the way you write your stories. So maybe you can tell us a few things about yourself, and then you can talk, and then we can go into the Q&A.
Sure. Thanks, John. Yeah, that means a lot. And just want to say hi to everyone from Marfa, Texas, where I currently am right now. And yeah, so I am a journalist with Cointelegraph. I've been writing about the blockchain and crypto space since 2017. And I'm also part-time analyst for quantum economics when it comes to enterprise blockchain. So I know quite a bit about it, and I think the Baseline Protocol is one of the most interesting projects, if not the most interesting projects out there. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Thanks, Rachel. I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm the currently the technical steering committee chair for the Baseline Protocol, which is, as I'll say probably over and over again, is not a product, it's not a platform, it's not a coin, it's not a token, it's not a scheme. It is simply a standard for how enterprises can use, achieve verified multi-party workflows using a blockchain. But really, it's more about verified multi-party workflows, and it's a standard that we're developing. The Ethereum Foundation and the EEA and now dozens of other companies are working together, including Ernst & Young, Accenture, a number of companies I'd love to say the names of, but I don't want to get ahead of my blocking, Microsoft, and notably a lot of traditional systems of record like SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, traditional database systems. And that's the work that I do in my day job. I work for ConSensys and ConSensys AG. And yeah, that's, I guess we're going to talk about the Baseline Protocol. You're going to hear a lot about the Baseline Protocol today from various companies and players that are making products in that space. Our job, I think, here is to talk about the community and the open source and open standards work that we're doing more generally.
Right, definitely. Well, because, John, I think you gave everyone a good overview of what Baseline Protocol is. So how about we just start off by explaining how it supports Ethereum in the enterprise?
Right. So I've got some slides. I'll pop them up if I think that, I don't want to make it a slideshow, but I might have some graphics to throw up here and there. The Baseline Protocol was conceived out of a realization that maybe the one thing Vitalik said that we might quibble with in his tenure in the Ethereum world is that it's the world computer. Depending on how you interpret that, it might not be the right way to think about it. It sounds like it wants to be everybody's backend to everybody's application. Well, it's a singleton. It always will be a singleton. It is a thing that needs to maintain a consistent record of things in an ordered set. And the laws of physics just say that you cannot have a singleton be everybody's backend. It'll blow up. Even if you don't have consensus involved, a consensus layer, a sharded Cassandra database is not going to handle everybody's backend. So that was never really going to be a thing. And also blockchains are not very good at being databases. If you really, there's a lot of enterprise folks on the call. Tell your CISOs and your CIOs, hey, we get it. We're not going to put our sensitive corporate data on any kind of blockchain. And I was one of the founders of Hyperledger Fabric. I'm telling you, as the person that designed some of that stuff, don't put your internal data on a giant threat surface where the worst administrator in your consortium is going to give you all a bad day by getting hacked and having everything that you put on there out in the clear. Blockchains are very secure, especially public ones, at tamper resistance. They're not terribly good In fact, public ones are not good at all, and private ones aren't very good either at surveillance resistance. So, if you got to think about that, they're not magic, super secure databases. They are a particular kind of animal. So if they're not good databases, and this is the important realization that led to the baseline protocol, is if they're not good databases, what are they good for? And so, but it won't work, but it would if. But it would work if it was thought of more as middleware. That is, that a public good maintained with supreme tamper resistance that can't lock you out of valid operations and is always on is a nice piece of kit to have when you're trying to do cross-company workflow automation. Because any distributed systems person would tell you, if you have machine A and machine B and you need them to be consistent about something like a record or a state change, you need a common frame of reference. You either need to have one of them primaried, or you have to set up another integration bus that's going to be the traffic cop for events. And in our space, there's a lot of people that talk about decentralization. I find sometimes tautologically, it's like it's good because it's decentralized. I don't really know what that means. I like the idea of using a highly tamper-resistant, always-on state machine that can't lock you out of operations and get taken over by somebody that doesn't like you. If that's decentralization, then I like that. But I like to break it out, right? I like to say why is decentralization important to me in this case. Problem is, if I use it in any way that somebody with a really good artificial intelligence could find a way to generate a classifier on me and understand my activities, my relationships, that would be bad, right? I'm pretty sure that some company that has invoices doesn't want some other company that they compete with to know about their invoices, not anything about their invoices. So a lot of times people talk about privacy, confidentiality, privacy on blockchains. It's not just privacy, it's confidentiality. Even the business rules, writing a smart contract that embodies your business logic could be leaking valuable metadata, data, or just trace information about your activities that you don't want out there. Don't use it that way. Use it effectively as a bulletin board for proofs that you can use, if you're clever about it, as an ordering service for your traditional systems of record. So don't throw out your SAP system. Don't throw out your Dynamics system. Don't throw out your NetSuite system. What you're gonna do is use some tricks and techniques that we're devising in the baseline protocol standards community to and ultimately a public blockchain, although you can sort of stand things up and test them on a private system and then just cut over to the public as a way of knitting these workflows together in a very, very secure integration where no data and no business logic ever touches any system other than the one that you so carefully locked down to begin with. This is good news for your CISOs. It's good news for your CIOs. And it's good news for all your POCs that are stuck in POC hell, because your CISO won't let it become an actual production system. And correctly so, if you've been dropping a lot of data on it. I'll stop there.
Yeah, thanks, John. Great. Yeah, that's a great overview. My next question is, how exactly would an enterprise leverage this? How would they leverage the baseline protocol? For instance, I know invoices is something that is really important here. So can we talk a little bit about how that creates more efficient business processes?
Sure, Rachel. Yeah, I think that the most of the time when we talk about working together across companies, we're worried about one big thing. And if you talk to any CEO or executive in any company that I can think of, you ask them, how much is it costing you when you work with other companies for screw ups? Either how many screw ups do you have between your companies that are based on inconsistent understanding of what the information might be, right? I've got an invoice that says 100. You have an invoice that says 1,000. How did that happen? I've got an invoice. I'm a big retailer, and I have a delivery date of today. You have a delivery date of 2 weeks from now. When I call you up and say, where's my shipment that I'm going to put on our shelves today? And you say, well, it's supposed to be there 2 weeks from now. I say, you're going to spend whatever you have to get it here tomorrow, or you don't have to do business with us. And now you've got a $10 million rush that you have to, even if you can get it there, to deal with. You got make good. You've got surety bonds. You've got performance bonds. You've got just keeping money in a contra account that's not working for you because you're worried that you're going to have to do that make good or have legal expenses. This is all to do with inconsistent information and workflows that don't have integrity, company to company. Many companies still, even the biggest companies in the world, are dealing with suppliers that 30% of whom are still doing PDF, email, and other kinds of messaging. 33% of those events have contain errors, and it costs 50 cents per error. That's a lot. I mean, there's probably about 10 billion B2B events a day, that matter. Imagine the number, if 33% of them are, or 33% times 30 times 50 cents, that's a lot. So dealing with that is important. And we've been for 40 years, 32 years of my career and beyond that, we've been working on trying to clean up our data practices internally, doing more BPM, business process management. That was a pretty hot topic. It still is. But now it's about cross-company, multi-party verified workflows. And I think that's a hopeful thing, because I don't know about you, but when my house is never so clean as when the neighbors are coming over. So we've always backburnered our data hygiene practices in many companies. Very few companies do it well. None of them that I've seen do it supremely well. We've all got work to do. But now that we're talking about data synchronicity between different companies, I think it's going to accelerate, because we don't want the other company to know how bad we are at doing that. So that's the opportunity. The punchline of all that, Rachel, from your question is, well, what is the most obvious result of these screw ups in terms of financial risk? And that is not getting paid. I got an invoice, and that invoice is either wrong, or I'll just stop sharing for a second. Is either wrong, or I never got the memo. I mean, I'm happy to pay the bill, but I never saw it. Right? You emailed it to me. I never, we don't have any kind of POA or a proof of acceptance protocol. E-invoicing is still kind of evolving. These are things that need to be improved so that invoice gets paid. But if an invoice is a result of a baseline workflow, the probability of getting paid goes way up, because I can be sure that the invoice in my database and the invoice or the bill in your database is verifiably identical, that nobody can say that they didn't get the memo. There's non-repudiation built in. And without saying, hey, let's all put our invoices and our bills on this big common shared database or this common threat service or this blockchain. No, we're going to keep it in our systems. We're going to use the blockchain and put proofs on the blockchain in such a way that it's very stealthy, using zero knowledge circuits, so that without anybody else knowing a thing about what we're doing, and even if they were to find that hash, that proof, basically the proof would say somebody's agreeing about something. That's all it would really tell you. So very often people say ZK snarks are a way of saying, or zero knowledge in general, I can prove an attribute of myself without telling you what my secret is. This would be, we have a secret collectively, you and me and some other set of companies. And we're going to use this machine over here to tell us that we have the same secret without telling it anything about our secret, and doing it in such a way that anybody observing that machine wouldn't even know that we exist or that we have a secret. That's baselining in a nutshell. And the result of that is your invoice is probably going to get paid. I mean, there's still reasons why it might not get paid, but the probability goes way up. And that generates a real opportunity for DeFi investment in those invoices, right? Imagine a world where everybody can not only invest in the company, but actually support these cash flows and say, yeah, you know what, I'll buy that invoice off you because I know you're going to get paid.
Right. Yeah. This is definitely leading up to enterprise DeFi, which is what we've been talking about, which is really interesting. But
Or
John, I
just
think it's
improved enterprise Fi, really. I mean, you can start with DeFi 2, but both DeFi and just Fi together, you've just massively improved that to the point where it's possible that just number of basis points over T-bill is what somebody would have to pay to get paid immediately upon delivery of a good or service, rather than 90 days from now.
right. Yeah, it's really exciting. I think it's important, though, for us to just briefly talk about the standards around baseline protocol. How are those being developed? How are they being developed? What role does the community at large play when it comes to standards?
Yes. So in the case of baselining, unlike say Hyperledger Fabric or Hyperledger Besu or any of these other open source projects, the core of the work is standards. We all need to have 3-prong outlets and 240 volts. It's about agreeing on a set of techniques that can be implemented in any number of ways. So the standards team is run by a wonderful person, Anaïs Frank. We have meetings now weekly because it's really intense now. Companies are really making a lot of money on delivering baselining to their clients. You'll hear about that throughout the day. And so we need to have standards that are enforceable. So by the end of the year, we should have a set of tests and compliance promulgated out of the Oasis Foundation, or the Oasis Standards Body, which is a partner of the EA. And they're behind things like MQTT and AMQP and SGML and SAML, all these old school internet standards, and ultimately probably ISO. So if you or your company want to support this work, get involved, get ahead of it, and make sure the standard evolves in such a way that it's going to advantage your company, you should be in the room with us. And a real easy way to get there is to contact myself, or you can go to baseline-protocol.org, and we will give, and there's a number of avenues into the community from there. Get on our Slack, which is thousands of people on it. I haven't checked last. It was well over 1,000 people the last time I checked it. So that's kind of how to get involved and the nature of the work.